Hi everyone, I'm Sherri Berger, registered dietitian and nutritionist, and I'm here live in the Safeway in downtown Los Altos, California. I was hired by El Camino Hospital to provide a nutrition program here in the Safeway store. I'm here every Monday and Thursday to help customers to improve their health by making better nutritional and lifestyle choices. So with the holiday season approaching fast, I want to provide you today with some healthy, easy substitutions that you can make to your traditional holiday meals to make them a bit healthier. So what I gathered here is a bunch of traditional holiday items, and I came up with ways that we can alter them to make them a bit healthier, make them a little bit lighter, and better for you. So while we're taping today, I just want to remind you, please feel free to go ahead and ask questions at any time. Go ahead and write them in the comments section. I'll do my best to answer all questions live, but if I don't get a chance to answer your question while we're streaming, I will be sure to go back and answer it later. So we're going to start out with first some healthy holiday tips that you should remember to incorporate during the holiday season. So first off, remember to try to be consistent. Try not to sway too much from your normal healthy routine during the holiday season. Next, don't skip meals. Instead of skipping an entire meal to make room for extra calories, what I would recommend is go for larger portions of vegetables, but smaller portions of everything else. That will leave extra space and calories so that you can go ahead and enjoy those typical holiday treats that are special items that you know wouldn't be the best choice, but you know that you're going to want to have them anyways. Next thing I recommend is make sure that you work out as much as possible. Now, I realize it gets really busy during the holiday season with our normal schedules, and then we have all these fun, festive activities that we want to attend. And of course, it's so easy to say no to a workout and go to a fun party instead. So if you find that the frequency and the duration of your workouts are less, then what I would recommend doing is make sure that you work out at more of an intense level so that you are getting more out of your shorter workouts. Next thing that I recommend doing is make sure that you always have protein with breakfast. So studies have shown that having a higher protein breakfast helps to better regulate hunger-stimulating hormones, which will make you feel more content than if you were to choose to have a higher carb breakfast. So try to go with at least 20 grams of protein with your breakfast. I'll give you some examples of what that could be. So you may want to do an omelet packed with vegetables. Have a cup of berries on the side. That will also give you fiber. Fiber, along with protein, helps to fill you up and make you feel content. Another example could be choose a cup of Greek yogurt. Top it off with fresh fruit, a small handful of nuts. Not only is that going to give you protein, but that's also going to give you fiber and healthy fats. All those are going to work together to help to make you feel full and satisfied all morning long. Next thing I want you to keep in mind is that if you get off track, get right back on. So here's a dietitian secret. We are not perfect. We are just like everybody else. We want foods that aren't so healthy sometimes, but when we do, we make sure that we don't feel guilty about it and we resume healthy eating right away. So that's what helps to keep us in control, is balancing the good with the bad, and that way we never feel deprived and we can maintain a healthy weight throughout our lives. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to go over some traditional holiday foods and give you some healthy substitutions. But before I do that, I want to remind you of the importance of portion control. So what I brought with me is a visual to take a look at. This is called the New American Plate. It was a visual that was developed by the American Institute of Cancer Research. And basically what it's emphasizing here is that we want to try to choose mostly a plant-based diet. That's going to help to give us lots of antioxidants. It's going to lower our calorie intake. It's going to help to prevent cancer as well as other types of chronic diseases. So what you want to try to strive for is you want at least 2/3 of your plate to be plant-based foods. So what those are going to be whole grains, for example. So for example, choose brown rice instead of white rice, whole wheat bread instead of white bread, choose quinoa, choose whole wheat pasta instead of white pasta. Other plant-based foods to focus on would be nuts and seeds, fresh fruit, and vegetables. So remember, make plant-based foods 2/3 of your plate. The last 1/3 of your plate can come from animal protein if you choose, but do make sure that you are choosing leaner cuts of meat, because that's going to lower your saturated fat intake, which will help to reduce your risk of cancer, heart disease, and other types of chronic diseases. So keep the American plate in mind. So now I'm going to talk about some traditional holiday foods and give you some ideas on how you can make substitutions, or also tell you what choices would be better for you. So we'll start out with some typical appetizers. So dips are a typical choice as an appetizer during the holidays. So what you can do if you want to go with a creamy type dip, why don't you use Greek yogurt as the base? That will give you protein. You could choose what kind of fat level you want, whether you want to do a fat-free or a low-fat. That would make it healthier. And to get some good ideas on that, what I would recommend is go to the Stonyfield website. There is a whole list of different yogurt-based dip recipes on there that you'll get lots of good ideas from. So another type of dip that would be a good choice in itself is hummus, because it's made out of usually chickpeas or another type of bean, which is going to be very high in fiber and protein. And also it has healthy fats in it, coming from the olive oil as well as the tahini, which is just basically ground up sesame seeds. So this is also a great choice. Salsa, of course, would be a great choice because it's basically just vegetables, so you can't go wrong with that. And then guacamole would also be a great choice. Guacamole, of course, has avocados, which are so heart healthy and so good for reducing inflammation within our body. So avocados are a fantastic source of monounsaturated fats. Those are the heart healthy fats that have so many benefits for us. They help to increase the good cholesterol in our body, which is the HDL. So remember, H for healthy. They help to lower the LDL cholesterol, which is the bad one. So remember, L for lousy. And they also help to better regulate triglycerides. So this would be a great choice. And then you also got to think about what you're going to use with your dip. If you choose vegetables, that would be a fantastic option. You could do baby carrots, mini peppers, cherry tomatoes, sliced cucumbers. Any of that would be a good choice. Or if you want to choose a cracker, you could go with a whole grain one. That's what I would recommend. One of my favorite crackers that I like to recommend to customers is Triscuits, because they are whole grains and they have very minimal ingredients. So within Triscuits, there's only 3 ingredients on the label. So that's what you want to look for when you're looking at packaged foods. Typically, the less ingredients, the better, because it means it's more of a whole food. And you want to make sure that it's all ingredients that you can pronounce and recognize, so no chemical terms, no preservatives, and that's what you see within Triscuits. Okay, so next we're going to talk about typical protein options during the holidays. Remember, the leaner, the better. That's going to be best for your heart health. So some good choices would be, usually ham is pretty lean. Chicken or turkey breast would be a great choice. Just remember that with poultry options, that you want to take the skin off, because that's where most of the saturated fat is. Otherwise, it's a really good choice, especially if you go with the white meat versus the dark meat. You're going to get less fat and less calories. Fish, of course, is always going to be a good choice, especially, now it's the opposite with fish. Actually, the more fat that it has, the better it is for your heart health. That's because fish has omega-3 fatty acids, which help to reduce inflammation within the body. So try to choose cold water type fish. So especially salmon, tuna, or trout, those would be good options for that. And then a popular holiday protein that a lot of people like to choose that isn't necessarily the best for you, but I'll tell you how to make it work. Prime rib is usually a typical choice. So it does have a lot more fat and calories than other types of meat. So do make sure that you watch the portion size on it. What I recommend is no more than 3 ounces, which really isn't a whole lot. It's the size of a deck of cards. But within that 3-ounce portion, you're already getting about 300 calories and about 24 grams of fat, and about half of that fat is coming from saturated fat, which is the type of fat that will clog your arteries and increase your risk for heart health or heart disease. But once again, just keep in mind, if you're only going to have prime rib once or twice a year, go ahead and enjoy it. Just watch portion size. So next we're going to talk about some plant-based items that you can include in your holiday meal, and ones that are usually typically included for most people. So one of them would be sweet potato casserole is a popular one. Now the problem with that, of course, sweet potatoes are healthy on their own, but we tend to add a lot of sugar to that type of recipe, or butter or cream. Usually there's marshmallows on top, so a lot of added sugar and fat. So what I would recommend is, first of all, choose to use yams versus sweet potatoes because they just are naturally sweeter. So then you can get away with not using sugar at all if you choose, or just using less of it. What I typically like to do is just cut up the yams and just use olive oil and bake it, and that's it. I don't feel the need to add anything else. However, if you do want to do more of a traditional recipe and add some of those ingredients, there is a great recipe that I found online, and we will include that in the link in the comment section. We'll include the link to that. And basically within this recipe, there was no butter used, there was no cream, there was no sugar, and there was less of the marshmallows. So it definitely was a reduced calorie and fat and sugar recipe, and it was a good choice. So mashed potatoes are also pretty common during the holidays. And once again, we're usually using a lot of butter or cream for that. If you do want to use butter within that recipe, I would recommend doing whipped butter because there's air incorporated into this. So you can use a less amount and not get as much fat and calories. But I also found another recipe that would be a great choice. I believe it was from the Eating Well website, but we will once again include the link to that recipe in our comment section. But basically within this recipe, what they used was roasted garlic and mashed it in with the potatoes, which gave it a lot of flavor. They used olive oil, they did not use butter, and they used herbs for the flavoring. So once again, good modifications that you can make. Another popular plant-based recipe that people like to do is green bean casserole. Once again, there's nothing wrong with green beans, but it's what we add to it that can make it not as healthy. So some substitutions for that. I would recommend using the Campbell's Healthy Request soup because this is much lower in fat and sodium than other varieties. Also use fat-free or skim milk in the recipe. And of course, salad. Make salad part of your holiday dish. If there's lots of green leafy vegetables and fruit and other vegetables incorporated into it, it's going to be a great choice. So I found a great recipe that you could use if you'd like. It was basically a red and green festive salad using spinach leaves and pomegranate. So we will include the link to that within the comment section. So of course, no holiday meal is complete without desserts. Go ahead and enjoy your dessert in smaller portions, but if you want to make some modifications to make it a little bit healthier, I will talk about that next. So usually pie is a popular holiday dessert, and what I would recommend to make that a little bit better with the crust is you could actually use yogurt and less of the butter to replace that. You could use whole wheat flour. Let me just show you what that would be with your crust instead of white flour. Or another option, you could use either all almond flour or partial regular flour with almond flour. But if you use all almond flour, you're going to get a lot of healthy fats within this, and then you don't have to use any other added fat, so that would be a great option. As far as the filling for your pies, you can definitely find recipes where you can reduce the sugar and possibly other added fats with that. There's a whole variety of different recipes that you can find. You can check out websites such as eatingwell.com or cookinglight.com. Just do a search and you'll find lots of different recipes. So another big part of the holidays we all know is alcohol. And alcohol is something that is an extra calorie in our diet, of course. I'm not saying that you should avoid it, but do be aware of how much you are drinking. And a good way to help to lower how much you're drinking as well as not feel a hangover is I would recommend drinking some water in between. So you can incorporate that with a fun, festive holiday beverage such as get some carbonated water, add a splash of juice to it, and you can maybe throw some cranberries in. So it looks a little fun, festive, maybe it feels a little bit more like alcohol. I would recommend drink something like that in between each drink. Some other popular holiday beverages, so we usually like something warm and toasty, so hot chocolate, And then there's holiday lattes are very popular these days. So I'm going to talk about hot chocolate a little bit first. Actually, that is not a very bad choice. It just depends on what it's made with. So if you make your own at home, you could definitely make a healthier option. And I'd like to talk about the health benefits of cocoa powder. So the reason why I say that hot chocolate can be a good choice is because cocoa powder is so healthy for us. Cocoa powder is full of antioxidants, which are good for reducing our risk for cancer. It's also good for your heart health. Of course, it's not sweetened. It's just 100% cocoa powder, so you would need to add some type of sweetener to it. So if you make your own hot chocolate, I would recommend using either fat-free milk or 1% milk. Use less sugar, or you could use stevia to sweeten it, which is going to be a natural sweetener that comes from a plant that has no calories. Maybe add a dash of vanilla extract. You could top it off with some cinnamon if you'd like. So there's definitely healthier ways that you can prepare that. And then as far as holiday lattes go, a lot of times we like to go to different coffee houses to get that. There definitely are ways that you can modify it when you're ordering. So many people aren't aware that there actually is a size smaller than a tall when you go to Starbucks. It's called a short. So it's 8 ounces instead of 12. So remember, when we reduce our portion size, we're going to reduce calories. Another thing that you could do is ask for a lower fat milk with your latte. Typically, they use 2% milk or whole milk. So ask for either fat-free or 1% if you can. Ask them to put in less syrup than they normally would. Just say, can you do half the amount than what you normally would? And that would make a big difference. And then also just ask them not to add the whipped cream if you choose. That can easily save about 100 calories. So all those little modifications can make a big difference. So now that I went through different holiday traditional items, I'm going to open it up for questions. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, I'll give you a few more minutes to think about your questions. Let me think of a typical question that somebody would want to know. Okay, well, here's something. It's maybe not a question, but it's just some interesting information. So what do you think is the average weight gain that people gain during the holiday season? So the answer to that is actually we average about 1 pound a weight gain, and that may not sound like a whole lot, but the thing is that we usually gain that weight and then we don't lose it later. And then year after year, we gain an additional pound, and it just keeps going up throughout the years. So as time goes on, you could be much bigger from that as well as from other choices that you're making throughout the year. So it's important to be aware of your choices during the holidays, and instead of just, if you just celebrate on the 1 or 2 days that are the big holidays for the year, that's not so bad. But the thing is that we make it into a season, and we're eating not so healthy choices for 2 months or maybe longer, and that can add up. So do keep that in mind. I'm here in the Los Altos Safeway store every Monday and Thursday, and I'm here to help customers make better choices. I also offer free classes here. You could see all my classes listed on the El Camino website. It's just www.elcaminohospital.org, and there's more information listed there too. Also, I want to let you know that we do have an outpatient dietitian at El Camino Hospital, and she offers free nutrition consults the first Friday of every month. So do make sure to take advantage of her services, take advantage of my services. I love to meet new people. Come visit me. I want to help you. I can also do personalized tours for you to help you to find any specific products that you're looking for that are specific to your needs. So thanks for listening, and have a great day and happy holidays.